PETA wants us to stop bringing home the bacon and start bringing home the bagels. No more can we beat a dead horse. Now we must feed a fed horse. We will analyze how left-wing vegans want to destroy language with vegan-friendly idioms, presumably because they're a few fries short of a Happy Meal. Then Bob Dole and Alan Simpson dazzle at George Bush's funeral, a Never Trump magazine goes under, and a brand new MAGA dating app. I'm Michael Knowles, and this is The Michael Knowles Show. I wonder how many more idioms we can break out there. You can lead a horse to water, but you can only force feed a goose to give you foie gras. I don't know. There are very many, and PETA is going after it. PETA and some left-wing academics. We will analyze why the left is always trying to control our words and to control our culture. But first, do you know what time it is? It's time for you to do all of your holiday shopping. And how are you going to know the time? Using Movement. You know how much I love Movement. With the holiday season coming, gifting is easy with Movement's versatile line of watches, glasses, and accessories. I have never gotten more compliments on any watch than I do on my Movement watch. This is the Revolver Atlas. It is super cool. If you're looking to get me a gift for Christmas, get me the new Arc line. It's Movement's new automatic mechanical watch. It's beautiful, beautiful technology, beautiful mechanism inside, and it looks really sleek, as do all of their products. They're all about looking good while keeping it simple. It's a ground-up entrepreneur story. It's crowdfunded by these two college dropouts. Now they've sold 1.5 million watches in over 160 countries. Movement watches start at just $95. If you were in a department store, $400, $500, especially when you're talking about these automatic watches, the new Arc line. So nice. Movement did all the hard work this holiday season, so you don't have to. They have also awesome gift boxes and packages. I am giving people on my list Movement watches. I am paying money. I am not only a client of Movement, I'm also a regular customer. They've curated all of their favorite styles into special gift boxes for you, so you can absolutely crush it this holiday season without the added stress. 15% off today, free shipping and free returns. Go to mvmt.com/covfefe, C-O-V-F-E-F-E. Movement's launching new styles on their site all the time. Movement.com/covfefe, mvmt.com/covfefe. Join the movement. Join the movement. How long before we're going to have to start changing all of these words too? We have to change all of the words. This is the new line coming out of PETA and left-wing academics. This from Sharina Z. Hamza, an academic from Swansea University. You know, that's where I get all of my tips about the English language expressions at Swansea University. This is what they're saying. Quote, the increased awareness of vegan issues will filter through consciousness to produce new modes of expression. It may very well be that down the line, powerful meat metaphors are eschewed. What are the meat metaphors? Bringing home the bacon. We're not allowed to use bringing home the bacon anymore. We're supposed to say bringing home the bagels. The other one is putting all your eggs in one basket. It's not just animals. We're not allowed to reference animals. We're not even allowed to reference animal products. So you can't say putting all of your eggs in one basket. Another one is killing two birds with one stone. You can't say that. It's about killing birds. That's terrible. And it isn't just one wacko academic. If it were one wacko academic saying this, I would say, oh, I would kind of laugh it off. I mean, that's what academics do, is they say crazy things and we ignore them. But PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, is now tweeting about this. By the way, PETA is the most ironically named organization probably in the country. PETA for the Ethical Treatment of Animals has killed, in the last 2 decades, just about 96% of the animals in their care. On any given year, the animals in their care, this is well over 30,000 animals since 1998, 96% of them are killed by PETA. Even the ones that could be adopted out, they just kill them, but they call it People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. So they sent out a tweet yesterday. It's catching a ton of interest online. The tweet read, "Stop using anti-animal language." And this is the money line. Just as it became unacceptable to use racist, homophobic, or ableist language, phrases that trivialize cruelty to animals will vanish as more people begin to appreciate animals for who they are and start bringing home the bagels instead of the bacon. Quote, words matter, and as our understanding of social justice evolves, our language evolves along with it. This is my thesis on the culture, is that the left uses language to affect their political agenda. So by the time we get to the political fight, we've already lost, because they've already changed the language through the culture. This is what political correctness is. They use terms like social justice. What is social justice? What they're using social justice as a stand-in for is morality. They're saying that we now, in our enlightened moral standards, realize that it's wrong to kill animals. It's wrong to eat animals. It's wrong to wear animal skins and use leather and whatever. How is that? Where is that? Where do we find that in any sane moral standard? I know that they say it. I know that these wacko lefties say it, but where do we find it? The trouble with these new suggestions, by the way, is that the new idioms don't make any sense. So the new idiom, bringing home the bagels. Okay, I guess that one's the most defensible of them. Putting all your eggs in one basket, they now want us to say, putting all your berries in one basket. But that doesn't make any sense. If you've got all your eggs in one basket and you drop the basket, all your eggs are gone because you crack the egg and then they're gone. If you put all your berries in your basket and then you drop the basket, nothing happens. They're berries. Berries are pretty durable. You drop them, you pick them up, you can eat them, dust them off, that's fine. Same thing with beating a dead horse. That idiom makes sense. Feeding a fed horse doesn't make any sense. There's another famous idiom, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So they're getting very confused about all of their idioms. And then my favorite one, they took to kill two birds with one stone, and they want to change it to feed two birds with one scone. Do you get it? You have a scone and you feed two birds. That one doesn't make any sense though, because it is difficult to kill two birds with one stone. It's tactically difficult, and what you're saying with that idiom is that you are going to be efficient in your use of tactics. You're going to take care of two things in one fell swoop, in an efficient way where you'd only take care of one thing. To feed two birds with one scone is very easy because birds don't eat very much. You could feed 100 birds with one scone. That doesn't mean anything. It's so absurd. But they're changing this language, and the issue here is the language. I don't really care about the rise of veganism, although it is a little weird. Veganism is up 360% in the UK over the last decade. It's up 500% in the US over just the last 4 years. And the issue with veganism, the reason they're so whacked out about the language here, is that veganism is a morally incoherent ideology. Veganism, it's not just that you can't eat animals. You can't eat fish, you can't eat shellfish, and you can't even eat animal products. You can't eat milk, you can't drink milk, you can't eat eggs. And my question is, why stop there? Does anyone really believe that an oyster is more conscious than a carrot? I was on Fox News this morning talking about this very topic, and I got actually a lot of letters and tweets and things in, not just from left-wingers, but from right-wingers too, who say, oh, Michael, you're being too harsh. I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan, and it's so much better and it's so much more moral. We have to set the record straight here. An oyster is not in any way more conscious than a carrot. They are morally identical entities. Why is it okay to eat the carrot, but it's okay to eat the carrot but not eat the oyster? And further, I mean, the big example here is abortion, because every vegan I know, every single one, I know a number of vegans, and I've had to sit through terrible lunches when they take me out to them. They're all in favor of abortion. So they weep for the oyster. They weep for the Delta smelt. But an unborn human baby, it doesn't matter, wipe it out, kill it. That is a morally incoherent idea. And what it does is it inverts the natural order. So we have a natural order of things. The animals are here, we have dominion over them, and they are here for our enjoyment. So this is why we don't want to torture animals, we don't want to be cruel to animals. But the reason that we shouldn't torture animals or be cruel to animals is not because the animals have some rights, some consciousness, some spiritual life, some soul, or anything like that. The reason that we shouldn't be cruel to animals is because it deadens our compassion. It deadens our humanity to be needlessly cruel to some innocent little animal. The reason that we need to conserve animals is not because animals are good and humans are bad, or that animals have some right to exist in nature and, prance around the forests. It's so that we can enjoy them. The reason to conserve the deer is so that we can go kill more deer or, hunt them and have a good time. There was a wolf that was killed in, I think it was Yellowstone. And this was a major Twitter moment. This made headlines all around. And they said a beloved wolf was killed by a trophy hunter. Now, the wolf was killed legally. He had a license to go kill the wolf. They say the beloved wolf. Beloved by whom? Who is crying over the wolf? They did this when a guy bought a very expensive permit, that dentist, to go kill Cecil the lion in Africa. And they said he was a beloved lion. Beloved by whom? He's not a beloved lion, he's a lion. And actually the reason that they sell permits to these trophy hunters is because they cost a lot of money, and then all of that money is put toward conservation efforts. Beloved by whom? They're just crafting this narrative to tug on your heartstrings. Also, last time I checked, Cecil is not a particularly African name. They're trying to make it sound like it's the Lion King or something, this beautiful natural environment. No, not quite. I guess the dentist killed the wrong lion or something, but come on, give me a break. So this inversion is very, very strange, and it's true of the entire environmentalist left. They think that we are here to serve animals. Which is true only in the sense that we serve them on our dinner plates. We are here to conserve them and then serve them to each other because they taste very good. But we are not here to give them honor or to give them fealty or anything like that. They are here for us, and we love them because they provide a lot of nice things for us, like a good veal piccata on a good Saturday night. But that's it. That's where the line is. And they've exactly flipped that order. The left does this all the time. They're constantly flipping and inverting major issues. You know, I love Orrin Hatch, a Republican senator. He celebrated PETA's tweet in precisely the right way. Here's Orrin Hatch. Lovely piece of bacon. Oh yeah. Oh, it's getting my hunger up. I was at a wedding in New York over the weekend, and the wedding was held at the Harvard Club. And the one cool thing that the Harvard Club has that other clubs don't have is they have a giant elephant head on the wall. And actually, I'm a little nervous about this because in my mind, you know, elephants might demonstrate certain aspects of consciousness, so I'm a little iffy on it. But still, we get to honor this cool elephant head on the wall. It's being enjoyed so much more than if it were just ravaged by some predator in its natural environment. We have more nature worship, more bizarre left-wing nature worship, which is torching the streets of Paris right now, and it's even being heralded by Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, at the UN. But first, let's talk about something really, really nice and comfortable. Boll and Branch sheets. We are never going to agree on everything, but we can agree we could all use more sleep. I only got about 18 hours last night because I had to wake up early for that TV show. So don't be like me. Luckily, you can maximize your sleep using Boll and Branch sheets. I love these sheets. I also am a customer of these sheets. I give them out to friends and relatives. Everything Boll and Branch makes, from bedding to blankets, is made from pure 100% organic cotton, which means they start out super soft and they get even softer over time. You can buy directly from them, so you're essentially paying wholesale prices. Luxury sheets can cost up to $1,000 in the store. Boll and Branch sheets are only a couple $100. They feel absolutely incredible. They feel categorically different than the cheap sheets that you bought at your local store. 3 U.S. presidents sleep on Boll and Branch sheets. There's a reason for that. One Blank Book best-selling author also sleeps on those sheets. Shipping is free. You can try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a refund. You will not want to send them back, I'm telling you. No risk, no reason not to give them a try. The trouble with my sponsors is I love them so much that I just spend a bunch of money buying their products, and Boll and Branch is one of them. To get started right now, my listeners get $50 off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com, promo code Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, bollandbranch.com. Today, $50 off your first set of sheets. Say that 7 times fast. B-O-L-L and branch.com, promo code Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. That is the natural order, is lying down on those comfy sheets. The inverting the natural order is this bizarre nature worship, and we're seeing this now from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was at a UN climate conference in Poland, and he said that if he could, he would time travel back in time to terminate fossil fuels, which is that is the most privileged, elitist, decadent thing I've ever heard. Because it's true, Arnold Schwarzenegger, living in a zillion-dollar mansion, he doesn't think about what oil and fossil fuels do. Fossil fuels eliminated poverty. Fossil fuels and free market capitalism has virtually eliminated poverty around the world. It has lifted so many people out of poverty. Fossil fuels is the magic. That is the magic thing that allows for industry. It allows for people to be mobile, to travel enormous distances virtually immediately. It allows for people to heat their homes, to cook their food. It is so essential to raising people from dire extreme poverty into a good standard of living. But people who are zillionaires, elitists like Al Gore or Arnold Schwarzenegger, they write all of that off. And imagine this, he says, quote, "The biggest evil is fossil fuels. It's coal, it's gasoline, it's natural gas." That is the point. That is what they're all saying, that pollution, carbon dioxide, fossil fuels are evil. And the reason that they have to make fossil fuels evil, and they have to pretend that, is because they want to feel morally virtuous, but they're not virtuous people. So they say this is the greatest evil. Does anyone really believe the greatest evil is gasoline? If that's the greatest evil, stop using gasoline. I assume you use gasoline. I assume you get on airplanes. I assume you drive your car. I assume you take trains and turn your lights on. And I assume you use fossil fuels. If you really think it's the greatest evil, stop it. But of course it's not the greatest evil. The imagination of man's heart is evil from the beginning. We know that there is a natural, original sin in us. I don't know. What are some things that are more evil than gasoline? Murder, for one, rape, fraud, adultery, infanticide, that's another one. I guess that's under murder. What else? Theft, burglary, aggravated assault. Many things are more evil than gasoline. Gasoline isn't evil at all. But what I know it. I talk to people in Hollywood, and it becomes this bizarre obsession for Hollywood types who are usually hollowed out on the inside. These are people who do bad things all the time. Their lives are a wreck. I mean, the secret is, especially for actors, even A-list actors, very successful actors, most of them are miserable. And they're miserable because they're not working very much. Even if you're working all the time, you're still not working that much in the arts in Hollywood. And so you've got all of this free time. It's virtually impossible to sustain a marriage in show business, in industries that Arnold Schwarzenegger's been in. It's virtually impossible to act in a moral, productive, good, virtuous way. It just does not happen a lot. And so people feel this brokenness and they feel this need to be virtuous, but they don't want to actually practice virtue. So they practice a pantomime of virtue, which is what environmentalism is. Environmentalism is a separate religious system. It's a parallel religious system to our traditional religions like Christianity or Judaism. And it has indulgences. You can buy indulgences in the form of carbon tax credits. It has sin, original sin, which is pollution. It has atonement in the form of recycling, or in the form of reducing your use of fossil fuels. It has proselytizers like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Al Gore. And it offers them a sense of getting off the hook for their real moral failings by pretending to act virtuously and to reject false moral failings like using gasoline. It's really sad to watch it, but the more that people stop paying attention to their metaphysical selves, to their souls, they're going to pay attention to these physical pantomimes of virtue, and that is the environmental movement. Now, if you want to look at actual virtue, if you want to look at real men practicing virtue, look no further than the funeral for George W. Bush, God forbid, not for a long time, George H.W. Bush, Bush Sr. He's being laid to rest. There was a big, beautiful funeral in the National Cathedral today. President Trump attended, and there was a great moment yesterday when Bob Dole, a United States Senator, 1996 GOP nominee for president, was wheeled up there. And I'll just show you the video. I'll narrate it as it goes along. Bob Dole goes right up. He's alone in front of the casket, the American flag draped over it, and his guard physically lifts Bob Dole out of his wheelchair. He's so frail, and he stares at the coffin. He raises his left arm, and he salutes President Bush. And then he stands there, and then his guard sits him back down. And this is such a beautiful moment. You might be asking, first of all, why did Bob Dole salute with his left hand? He saluted with his left hand because Bob Dole served in World War II with the 10th Mountain Division, and he got gunned up by a German machine gun in Italy, in the Apennine Mountains, and it got his back, and it took down much of his right arm. Just a riddle of bullets down it. So he had very, very limited use of his right arm. He was really severely injured. And he came back. They said at the time, they quote, they gave him the largest dose of morphine they dared, and they wrote M for morphine on his forehead in his own blood so that nobody else who found him would give him a second dose of morphine, which would have killed him. This is Bob Dole. I really love this guy, even though he was sort of a moderate Republican or a liberal Republican. He ran in '76 for vice president with Gerald Ford. He ran for the presidency in 1980 against Ronald Reagan and George Bush. He ran again in 1988 against George Bush, same guy who he just saluted. He won the nomination finally in '96. He was the first presidential candidate that I really loved. My first campaign that I ever volunteered on was to campaign for Bob Dole in my first grade classroom. And I tried to convince all my friends to get their parents to vote for Bob Dole. He wasn't a terribly exciting candidate, and he lost ultimately to Bill Clinton. But he also, Bob Dole, came back around. He was the only GOP former nominee to endorse Donald Trump in 2016. Bush Sr. wouldn't do it, Bush Jr. wouldn't do it, John McCain wouldn't do it. Only Bob Dole came around and did it. And then there's Bob Dole there saluting George Bush, who himself was the youngest Navy pilot during World War II. He was shot down. He heroically survived. I bring this up to show a little episode of virtue, of duty, of loyalty, of overcoming political differences, of a genuine bond between these men, and just to remind you that the Democrats forced us to have President Bill Clinton over George Bush and Bob Dole, two virtuous men. They rejected those virtuous men twice in a row for a draft-dodging, degenerate, possible rapist, Bill Clinton. That's what happened. And so now, we talk about civility, we talk about restoring honor to the White House, to the Oval Office, how awful Trump is. Look at those two men. Even if you didn't love their politics, George Bush was kind of a moderate, squishy Republican, Bob Dole, same thing, but they were loyal Republicans, they were good guys, and they were loyal Americans who fought for their country, who were wounded for their country, and we had to deal with Bubba Clinton, who ran away like a coward to avoid the draft. So it was a beautiful part of the ceremony. Then Alan Simpson gets up there, the former GOP Senator Alan Simpson. I think he's about 115 years old at this point. He gets up there and delivers one of the best eulogies I've ever seen. Here are just a few clips.
Relax, George told me I only had 10 minutes. He was very direct about it. It wasn't even funny. It's for our country that I fought for. And he was a man of such great humility. Those who travel the high road of humility in Washington, D.C. are not bothered by heavy traffic. He never hated anyone. He knew what his mother and my mother always knew. Hatred corrodes the container it's carried in.
Such powerful words and such a powerful eulogy that touches on so many points. What I really loved about Alan Simpson's eulogy here is that it was delivered with strength and with balance and with humor and with a seriousness and with sincerity and with earnestness. It really took the life of George Bush, and it really took a view of life and a life well lived that we could all learn from. It had these, first of all, hatred corrodes the container it is carried in. Such a true statement that we have to remember as people. I can't believe it when I go to these campuses or I look on Twitter or something, how vitriolic and angry and nasty and mean people can be. And look, I love owning the libs. I love taking the fight to the left wing and pushing really hard and never giving back and punching right back and not being a squish. I love all of that. You've got to do it with a bit of humor. If you are getting angry all the time and irritated and you hate people and you're doing politics wrong, get out of politics. Do something else. You are not, this is not the place for you then, if you're going to really hate people and get so riled up all the time. And the reason for that is not because the other guy doesn't deserve it. There are plenty of people who deserve our scorn and our derision and our anger and our righteous anger. The reason not to become filled with hatred is because hatred hurts you. It corrodes you. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth. Sometimes you say things that can't be unsaid, and it's so vile and corrosive to what you are. And that's why Alan Simpson rejected it, and George Bush too. George Bush and plenty of others, something really we could learn from. But even the view of this, Alan Simpson, I guess, in 2012, George Bush, they had been friends for decades and decades. I think they'd been friends since the 60s. And George Bush thought he might be dying in 2012. And the Bush family asked Alan Simpson to give the eulogy. And that was when they said to him, all right, Alan, you only get 10 minutes, not more than 10 minutes, so keep it short. But apparently at that same time, Bush said, I want you to cry when you write the eulogy so that you don't cry while you say the eulogy. Very important advice. I see this in, I've given eulogies, I've given best man toasts. I think we've all given some version of these things that we have to say in public at events, either joyful events or bittersweet events or sad events. And they're very tricky things to write. They're much trickier than giving a podcast or a lecture or something like that, because they have to take a bigger view, a broader view of the human life. And a lot of times I've seen eulogies where people are weeping and sobbing and they're angry and they're cursing, or you can tell that they want to be cursing. This isn't right. You know, what Alan Simpson is showing us is that George Bush lived a life well. He did what he came here to do. He served others. He served his country. He was dignified when his country threw him out of office. He was always graceful, always tactful, and he lived to be 94. There's nothing to be angry and sad about. We were talking a little while ago, a few days ago, about how confused we all are about death these days. We're trying to cure death in Silicon Valley and do anything we can to extend life even one moment further. We're so afraid of natural death. I don't think George Bush was afraid of natural death. I think George Bush looked forward to seeing his wife and daughter again. His daughter Robin, who died decades and decades ago. I think he was looking forward to it. Not that he was despondent, not that he was despairing that he wanted to kill himself, but he was ready to go meet his maker, to his home in eternity, to have his just reward for a life well lived. And the trouble with a country that is increasingly atheistic is that it's a country that increasingly is full of despair. We see this reflected in drug addiction, and we see this reflected in suicides, both of which are surging beyond the imagination. That's what happens in a country without hope, with despair. But there is hope, and you can see it when you die, in a life well lived, in a life where you have hope in heaven and in your Savior. Then you get to go somewhere else. I remember during when those Dallas police officers were killed a few years ago, there was an attack on Dallas police officers. George Bush went there, and he was singing along. He was swaying to, I think it was the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. His truth is marching on. And George Bush is kind of happy. And they said this was inappropriate that he was happy at a funeral. But he was happy because he believed it. He believed that the glory of the Lord was there, and the truth was there, and the truth goes marching on. And we should believe it too. It certainly seems George Bush did, and Alan Simpson did. Kept that balance of the human life, and we should always try to keep that balance in times of great celebration and in times of bittersweet, even sadness, while we say goodbye to somebody. Really well done. We could all learn a lot from those guys. Now, speaking of protecting your life and a life well lived, you got to talk about Brownells. Brownells is a big proponent, supporter of the Second Amendment, and they have been for nearly 80 years. This is when you want to protect your life and your liberty, you need to make sure that you exercise your rights and your right to bear arms that will allow you to do that. You're buying guns, ammo, accessories online. It is convenient. It is totally legal. And I know that if you're watching this show, you or your friends or family probably would love to open up a Brownells gift card for Christmas. There are a lot of new people coming in who are taking interest in firearms. Young people, women, people living in the cities. There was, after that shooting at the gay nightclub in Orlando, there were a bunch of signs that went up around the country that said, on a rainbow flag, it said, "We fight back," and a huge surge in demographics that traditionally have not had an interest in firearms, who realize we need to protect ourselves. Brownells is the world's leading supplier of firearms, ammunition, firearm accessories, reloading components, and more. They offer an industry-exclusive, guaranteed forever warranty on all parts and accessories, offers nearly 120,000 items, from guns and ammo to nearly any gun part imaginable, has more than 5,500 partner FFL around the country to make your online gun purchase go smoothly. It's family-owned and veteran-owned. They've been doing business in the country's heartland of Iowa for nearly 80 years. Do not forget about the gun guy or gun gal on your Christmas list, like me. Send me one of these gift cards. Wish me a Merry Christmas, please. Brownells gift cards make great stocking stuffers. Go to brownells.com and put some freedom in your loved one's Christmas, like me, like your beloved Michael. Send me a gift card. I want to buy more firearms and firearm accessories. So, a really beautiful eulogies all around. George W. Bush, George Bush's son, former president, also gave a beautiful eulogy as well. So that's the right note. That's the right note to hit during all of these funerals. How about the wrong note? Who could take a dignified, beautiful expression, coming together in a little bit of grief, but in a happiness and joy at a life well lived, and a guy who served his country? The Clintons, of course. Watch as the Clintons snub President Trump while he sits down to the funeral. There he is. He sits down. He shakes hands with Barack Obama, shakes hands with Michelle Obama.
President Trump shaking the hands of the Obamas. The Clintons did not acknowledge President Trump.
They won't even acknowledge him. Hillary there looking even colder than usual, which I think makes her about 0 degrees Kelvin at that point. I think that basically is what stops time and space entirely. It's as cold as the universe will tolerate. And then there's Bill next to her, who won't even look at him, which is really hard, I think, for Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton's whole persona is just being a really nice guy. Hey there. Hey, pass me that cigar. Oh, don't worry what I'm going to... Yeah, so that's... Bill is sitting there. Even he won't turn and acknowledge Donald Trump. That's fine. We're told by Democrats and by squishy Republicans, we want the good old days. We want to, fight with our opponents and then go get drinks with them at 6 p.m. We want civility. Okay, then lead. Then lead on it. There's Donald Trump trying to be civil. Have you heard what the Obamas have been saying about Donald Trump recently? They've been calling him awful, racist, bigoted, terrible person. He goes there and shakes their hand, and they politely acknowledge him and shake his hand as well. Not the Clintons. They can't do it because they believe in nothing other than themselves. They are just a shameless, solipsistic, egotistical black hole of civility. And that's them. That's who the Democrats nominated in 2016, nearly nominated in 2008. They need to lead, but they won't do it. We've got a lot more to get to. We've got to get to how this breakdown in civility between the left and the right is leading to bad sex and to new dating apps. We also need to say goodbye to a Never Trump magazine, which looks like it's going under. We'll try to analyze why that is. But if you are on dailywire.com, thank you much. You keep the lights on. If you are not, then go over to dailywire.com. How much is it? $10 a month, $100 for an annual membership. You get me, you get the Andrew Klavan Show, you get the Ben Shapiro Show, you get to ask questions in the mailbag. That's coming up tomorrow, so get your questions in. You get to ask questions in the conversation, in the backstage, and you get Another Kingdom. I mean, you get all of this great stuff. But this is what you need. You need the Leftist Tears Tumblr. There is a new study out. It says that young Republicans are having more sex than young Democrats. This is leading to new dating apps. This is leading to the next story that we'll talk about. But just that, can you imagine the tears that must be provoked by that simple, terrible, sad fact for the left? Get your Leftist Tears Tumblr before it's too late. It's the only way to safely enjoy those leftist tears. Be safe. Be safe about it. You don't want to catch any diseases. Be very safe about enjoying those sad leftist tears. Go to dailywire.com. We'll be right back.